This strange clue that happens when the body literally breaks its own rules, and it can point to some really serious illnesses. Okay, picture this. You're really sick. I mean, you've got a raging fever, you feel absolutely terrible, but then you check your pulse, and it's calm, maybe even a little slow. That just doesn't add up, right? So what in the world is going on when a fever is raging but the heart is staying completely calm? So, to get why this is such a mystery, we first have to talk about the rule. See, there's this super predictable, almost unbreakable link between your body temperature and how fast your heart beats. And yeah, this rule actually has a name. It's called Liebermeister's rule. It's a basic principle in physiology, and it's pretty simple. For every 1 degree Celsius your temperature goes up, your heart rate should jump up by about 10 beats per minute. Simple math, right? Super predictable. And if you think about it, this makes total sense. When you get a fever, your body's engine, your metabolism, just kicks into overdrive. It needs more fuel, more oxygen. So your fight or flight system gets the signal and floods you with adrenaline. And what's the result? Tachycardia, a faster heartbeat. It's just standard operating procedure for fighting off whatever's making you sick. But what happens when that standard procedure just fails? When that so-called unbreakable rule breaks? This is where it gets really interesting. All right, let's look at a real-world example. So, say a patient comes in with a fever of 39.5 degrees Celsius. That's about 103 Fahrenheit. We're talking a serious fever here. And based on our rule, Liebermeister's rule, we should be able to guess their heart rate, right? Okay, so with a fever that high, the math says their heart rate should be cranking at around 120 beats per minute. But look at the actual number. It's only 70 to 90. The heart is just chilling, totally calm and steady, while the rest of the body is on red alert. That's the paradox. And this weird phenomenon, it has a name, Faget's sign. And the key word here is inappropriately slow. It's not just that the heart rate is low. It's that it's low when it absolutely shouldn't be. It's a flat-out violation of Liebermeister's rule. I mean, it's the ultimate mixed message, right? The body's fever firmness is cranked up to max. But the switch for the rapid heartbeat, the engine that's supposed to power the whole emergency response, has just been mysteriously flipped off. So you got to be asking, how is this even possible? Well, it turns out this isn't just some random glitch in the system. It's actually a kind of internal sabotage, and it's being carried out by some very specific and very clever culprits. Yeah, it turns out some pathogens are basically master hackers of the human body. They've figured out how to disrupt our internal network in a few key ways. Some of them crank up what we call vagal tone. Think of it like slamming on the body's emergency brake to slow the heart down. Others release toxins that directly attack and weaken the heart muscle, and some can even jam the neural signals that are screaming at the heart to beat faster. Pretty sneaky. And this brings us to the usual suspects. First up, you've got typhoid fever, a classic example. It uses those toxins we were just talking about. Then there's Legionella, the bug that causes a really nasty pneumonia. It just messes with the body's whole autonomic nervous system. And of course, yellow fever, which is where this sign was actually first spotted. The virus itself can directly attack the heart muscle. And as you can see, each of these bad guys leaves its own distinct set of fingerprints at the crime scene. But hey, the list doesn't end there. You've also got other infections like dengue, leptospirosis, and brucellosis that can pull off the same trick. Each one has its own sneaky way of uncoupling that fever from the heart rate. Okay, so it's one thing to know the list of culprits, but if you're a doctor standing at a patient's bedside, how do you actually use this information to crack the case? Well, this is where Faget's sign goes from being a weird paradox to an incredibly powerful diagnostic tool. But wait a second. Does a low heart rate during a fever always mean it's Faget's sign? The answer is a big, fat no. And this is a really, really important point to get. And here's why. Think of it like a bit of medical detective work. Before a doctor can even think about calling it Faget's sign, they have to rule out a bunch of other stuff. Like, is the patient taking any medications, say beta blockers, that are designed to lower their heart rate? Are they a super fit athlete whose heart is naturally slow? Or do they have some kind of underlying heart condition, or even a pacemaker? If the answer to any of those is yes, then all bets are off. The sign isn't valid. But once you've checked all those boxes and ruled everything else out, then Faget's sign becomes this incredibly valuable clue. I mean, imagine you're a doctor with a patient who has a really mysterious fever. This one sign can instantly take a list of hundreds of possible infections and shrink it down to just a handful. It's a huge shortcut to getting the right diagnosis. This leads to one of those classic bits of medical wisdom, a bedside teaching pearl that gets passed down through generations of doctors. And the message is simple but powerful. Fever without tachycardia, a fast heart rate, is never normal. It's a huge red flag that something is off, and you absolutely have to figure out why. And that kind of leaves us with one last thought, doesn't it? Faget's sign is such a great reminder that sometimes the most important clues are hiding in plain sight, right where the body seems to be breaking its own rules. It really makes you wonder, what other secret signals is our body sending us right now that we just haven't figured out how to decode yet?